you so much. It's so good to be here. I know you had a long trip out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought it might be fun for us to hear a little bit about your entrance into the helium community. You know, what got you interested? How did you start to learn more and dive down the rabbit hole? All of that.
Yeah, so I originally found helium on the internet, probably like a lot of you did on YouTube. I bought my first miner, which I still haven't gotten yet, and that was April of last year. And then so I ordered 9 more with my wife and some friends, because I did a little research, found out you can't own just one, and it's really no good to mine with. So I ordered a few more. I set those up. Once those got set up, I realized I wanted to get some more. So I ordered 40 more. And then I knew I had 6 months before they come in. So, and there used to be a discovery mode. So you could set up your hotspot, hit discovery mode, and see what hotspots could see you around. They got rid of that. And when that happened, I needed to know what hotspots could see me. So I found the Mappers channel. And with the Mappers channel, you could get a small device, and it would send out beacons and tell you who could see you. So that was my first sensor. I call that the gateway sensor.
Yeah.
You know? So that one got me going. And I met Joey. I thought it was going to be a simple project, like order the mapper, hit the power button, and go off mapping. But it wasn't so simple, at least for someone like me. I was not very technical with computers. I'm a mechanic. I build boats, stuff like that. So I didn't have a lot of technical knowledge at that time. So I met Joey. He helped me integrate my mapper, get it going, and then I went off mapping.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Did you meet on Discord or?
Yeah,
how?
I met him on Discord. Yep. So.
Yep.
And it was my first Zoom call ever was with Joey. I've never even done a Zoom call. So everything was a learning process. Like every step was a learning process along the way.
Yeah. And when you ended up working with Joey and learning about mappers, and you started to get a sense of what you could do with helium, when did the wheel start to turn? How did you start thinking about what you're building now, and what are you building now?
Yeah, so you can even go next. This is just one of my off-grids.
Oh, right, yeah, you set up one of these on
Yeah,
a
I had
pole.
to set that up on a pole, on a flag. The landlord wanted me to take it down, so I added a flag, and now it gets to stay.
Yeah.
You can even go to the next one. So these are some of my off-grid deployments I put up. Where I live, it's pretty rural. Some of the places you look, there's no infrastructure in the back. It's all farmland. And so I had to set up a lot of off-grids. Yeah.
And what are you building now? And sort of how did you get the idea for what you're building?
So, well, after building the network, for me, building something to me isn't important unless you can use it. So in the meantime, while I was waiting for the next batch of miners to come in, once I found out you could use sensors on the network, I approached a water company and a chocolate farm. So my grandmother's in ag, so I naturally was drawn to ag. And living on an island, you're limited on resources. So it's not easy. We import 85% of our food. So if anything I can do to help the community to provide more food and do it more efficiently.
Yeah. One thing that I loved hearing whenever I was talking to you about your story is how you come up with the idea of the solutions that you build. Like, it sounds like you spend a lot of time talking to the people who are actually growing and Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how you approach them, how you talk to them and start that conversation?
Well, I've done it in many ways. First, I would go in and say, hey, I have these sensors, and then I learned it's better just to ask them what they need. What's their biggest concern right now? What's your biggest problem? How can a sensor help you? Save manpower, resources, things like that. So I go in and ask the customer first what they need. And then build a plan off of that.
Yeah. Well, I would love to hear a little bit more about what the customer actually needs. Like, what have you found when you talk to them, and what have you built for them?
Okay, so with the chocolate farm, when I went in, they had an issue with They're solenoids for the irrigation.
Yeah.
They're on ag water, so the ag water has lots of sediment in it, and it will clog the solenoids.
Yeah.
And so then the water would shut off to a row of trees, and they wouldn't know about it because the rest of it's going. And then that row of trees would start showing signs of stress, so then they go check on it, which is kind of too late at that point. So for them, I set up soil moisture sensors, and if you can probably go to that one. I set up soil moisture sensors. You can see here, this is in the chocolate farm. So it alerts them when the parameters drop below the level, optimal level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how did they respond when you said, hey, I can build this for you, and this is how it'll change how you operate?
Well, yeah, they already had some 4G, they used a 4G weather station. And they have the option with that weather station to run 4G sensors, which cost double. They're about double the price of a lower-band sensor. So I approached them, I said, they already wanted it. If I could save you money and do it in a cheaper option, will you go with that option? And that's what they decided.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, one thing that we're really excited about are the ag tech solutions, because it makes a lot of sense. You know, you can cover a wide area. You need so many different sensors to measure, you know, different aspects of growing. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the specific challenges of connectivity in the area that you're trying to build solutions for.
Yeah, so on an island, as you go around, obviously, you're going in a circle. So as you go around the island, you lose connectivity with the towers. And then there's valleys, you know, and they don't get signal in those. So with LoRa, one radio or one antenna can reach deep in the valleys or really far. I have a hotspot that sees 200 kilometers or 200 miles over the ocean to another island. So, you know, if you can just set up one radio here and one radio here, and it'll cover that whole side, and this will cover that whole side. Yeah. So it's really easy to use.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you find out how far the signal was reaching?
Sorry.
Thank you.
So how I found out was when I set up my, I think, second hotspot, and I put it up on the mountain. It's about 6,000 feet. And it's just sitting in the window, stock antenna. And then it just started witnessing hotspots from Oahu, which was 200 miles away. So then I really learned the power of the network, what it could do. It really blew me away even. I took my mapper to the top of Haleakala, and I sent a beacon with a little teeny antenna, 200 kilometers, and hit 7 hotspots on Oahu.
Whoa.
So it doesn't take much to send a signal really far.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And can you actually tell us a little bit more about the hardware that you're using on, you know, with the chocolate and maybe also the water metering, stuff like that?
Yeah. So with the soil moisture, that's a Dragino, just soil moisture. Here's the dashboards I built for the customer. I use data cakes. And if you look here in the graph, you can see this is where the water comes on every day. And it dries out through the day, and then it comes back on. And then at the end of the graph, you can see where it didn't come on. It just kept drying out. So then they will get an alert. And when I started with them, they were about 60% soil moisture level, right about there. And then since I got them the sensor, they were able to do a test, run down the soil moisture to about 35 or 30% before they saw stress. And so now they get alerts, so they don't have to have that buffer. They were overwatering to keep that buffer.
Just in case something goes wrong.
Yes, exactly. And so which leaches their fertilizers more, so they're using more fertilizers, which leach into the groundwater. So they're saving fertilizers, they're saving water.
Yeah.
That's why I did it.
Yeah, and I think we have a picture in here as well of, so can you tell us sort of what you've learned about the hardware that you're using and how it's affected by the process of, is this curing chocolate?
This is going on? A fermentation. So all chocolate goes through fermentation from the pod. They ferment the beans. They're really acidic. The juices around the beans are very acidic, so they don't have to add anything. It's a natural fermentation process. This is where the chocolate actually gets all of its, or most of its flavor profiles from, is during the fermentation process. So it's a very important process of chocolate making. So for them, they need temperature sensors in the fermentation boxes. So I used a Dragino as well on this temperature sensor, 3 leads. But you can see in this picture, that's only 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks in the box. And the acidity ate up the leads. So you think you might have a solution for someone's problem, and then you get the sensor, and then you realize this isn't the solution.
Yeah.
So that's some of the difficulties I've run into.
Yeah. Where did you go? Like, what community resources or tools did you use to learn what hardware would be a better fit for this particular application?
So for me, a lot of the stuff I learned on was Discord. So I met with Travis in the Helium Hacks happy hour. So there's a lot of technical people on there that I can ask questions and they can help me. So that's where I learned a lot of the hardware stuff is from Travis.
Yeah. Awesome.
Joey too. Joey is
yeah.
I just asked them too for everything. I probably abused that a little bit, but they've been very helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Have you actually found yourself teaching other people how to do this stuff?
Yeah, so I went from knowing nothing pretty much, what I would consider knowing nothing about sensors, to now in the Discord. I mean, I'll get messages once in a while with people saying, you know, you've inspired me to start using sensors and stuff. So that alone is a push for me to keep doing it. You know, just seeing other people wanting to do it as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. What about locally? Like, are you getting people involved?
Yeah. So I have a group of people. There's only about 5 of us that own 90% of the miners on the island. So I made a Discord group with us so we can all communicate and help each other. And then I've starting to make mappers to pass out and hand out to get them, you know, started in sensors.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you got started, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay, so like, what's next? What are you, now that you've like actually deployed some IoT use cases, like, what are you thinking you want to build next? Is there a project you're more focused on right now? I'd love to hear where your mind is at.
Yeah, so I ordered a couple 5G miners. So besides the other protocols, besides LoRaN, I'm working in talks with the county to do invasive species trapping to protect the watershed. So the top of the mountain's all protected. There's nothing built up there. It's all just reserve, nature reserve. They build fences around it, and then they put traps below the fences to capture the invasive species. So I'm working on putting sensors to alert them when the trap's close.
Yeah.
So, because right now they're sending out a guy 3 times a day to check the trap, you know, and then so if I can just get them alert, it saves a lot of manpower.
Yeah. But how did you even figure out that this is a use case you wanted to focus on? How'd you?
Just even working with the water company now, because I work with them. They're the ones that supply the farm with water as well. So I'm putting sensors on their water meters, and so they have multiple projects.
Oh, amazing. So you're like learning more about the different players that come
different
into
players in the water game.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And I have to ask, did you bring anything with you to share with anyone?
Yeah, I brought some chocolate. So if you like chocolate in the back, there's some chocolate. Help yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tim. Let's give him a round of applause.